As a pastor and a worship leader, one of my favorite days to plan for is the Sunday before Easter, Palm Passion Sunday. The challenge, of course, is to try to address all the feels in one service, from the highs of the children singing Hosanna to the depths of the emotion of the Passion, recognizing that for some it is the only time they will hear the story. Not everyone's able to partake in Monday, Thursday, or Good Friday services. One year in particular, it was the designated Sunday in the conference to announce to my church that I would be moving that June to a new appointment. Again, an announcement that was heard in different ways by different people in the church. All the emotions were there that day. So today we come to the day after Palm Sunday. No hosannas, no crowds, but no cross yet either. Just another day. No special name, no special worship service. I wonder how Jesus felt on that day. Was he anxious about the events to come? And his companions, they didn't yet have a clue. They didn't know what was coming. The day's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? John 12, verses 1 to 11 is the gospel reading for today. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. There they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at the table with him. Mary took a pound of costly perfume made of pure nard and anointed Jesus' feet and wiped them with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, the one who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" Now he said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He kept the common purse and used to steal what was put into it. And Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She brought it so she might keep it for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." We still get the mixture of emotions. Martha served. Mary, she makes a mess, but she worships her Lord. The house, it smells of perfume. What a sensory experience. And then the mood is brought down by Judas, his complaints. This dichotomy continues, and if you, like me, are reading through Kate Bowler's Good Enough devotion this Lent, you know she addresses this idea of a mixed bag today, the world being full of 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. people. One is broken and tired and struggling perhaps. The other wide awake and put together and ready to face the world. Our community is made up of all sorts of people, all sorts of situations, all sorts of emotions, sometimes all at once. And this juxtaposition of the highs and the lows, it exists, but we are an Easter people. Our attitude is formed by knowing the story, knowing how it goes, knowing how it continues. This dichotomy, for me, it leads to hope. Because unlike the disciples, we know what we're preparing for. We've spent an entire Lenten season getting ready for this last push this week. We have made space for grace. God's grace. Grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace that is greater than all our sin. We are alive, and we know that all is not rosy. That we know that sin and despair, like the sea waves, cold, we know it threatens the soul with infinite loss. But in the midst of that, grace that is greater, grace that is untold, it points to the refuge, the mighty cross. We know the marvelous grace and the mighty cross that balance the sin and the despair and the darkness. And yet, even though we know the rest of the story, we know the joy. That last question from the hymn, it still hits, doesn't it? Marvelous, infinite, matchless grace freely bestowed on all who believe. But you who are longing to see his face, will you this moment his grace receive? Will you create space for the grace? Will you show up, even if that's all you got in you today? Blessings to you on this Monday of Holy Week.